Good day, everyone. How's it going? It is Extreme Azure here again, and today I'm bringing you yet another X Talk video presentation. Now, last time I talked about the NX. In this video, we'll once again be talking about the NX. But before I even begin, I just want to say I think I'm going to cut back on all the NX videos because, and not just NX videos, but NX discussion, even on my articles on Nintendo Enthusiast, mainly because you can only talk about nothing for so long, and the reason why I say nothing is because we don't know anything about the system. So all of this discussion is just fueled by all the rumors that are coming out. All the speculation is just baseless, really. It's just people letting their imaginations run wild. Frankly, I've been annoyed with it for months, and I know that's hypocritical to say because I've been adding to it, but after seeing so much videos on YouTube talking about the NX and seeing so much articles talking about the NX, like, enough is enough. I think I'm going to just cut back on it, focus on what we actually know about. So, anyway, putting that aside, this video is basically me just further discussing what I already did with my article of the very same name, Can Nintendo Balance the NX with Price and Power, which I'll put a link down in the description for you to read if you prefer to read, but also to add on to this. Alright, so going to the actual discussion, I asked that question because a lot of people believe that for the NX, what Nintendo needs to focus on is making a powerful system that can run all the latest and greatest games, you know, because it should be better compatible with what developers are using, you know, their engines. And that's the one thing that why the Wii U isn't getting much third-party support is because of its specifications, mainly the fact that its architecture is so different than the other systems that developers, even if the system was selling really well, they'll probably still have trouble, you know, developing their games for the Wii U. So with the NX, what everyone is hoping is that Nintendo rectifies the situation, and we just recently had a rumor that it's going to support engines like Unreal Engine 4 and Unity right out of the gate. Now, Wii U, as well as 3DS, has very good support for Unity, but unfortunately the Wii U does not have support for Unreal Engine 4. You know, very few engines that developers are using now are built to run on Wii U. So, well, everyone's hoping that with the NX, that'll be different because it'll be powerful. Now, okay, it's good for Nintendo to have a powerful system, no doubt. One that can stand up to the competition. That's very good. However, the point is, with the console releasing, whether it releases end of this year or next year, it will be releasing in a very awkward time because the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, as I've already discussed before, are established systems. You know, we just recently found out that there are over 50 million of them out in the wild when you combine their total sales together. So over 50 million, that's quite a number of systems. So when the NX launches, what Nintendo's mainly going to be focusing on is selling to the people who haven't bought those systems as yet. So with that point having been said, them focusing on the people who haven't crossed over to the other 8th generation systems yet, they're going to have to give them a good reason, because when the NX launches, if it's considerably more powerful, that means it's going to be considerably more expensive. You know, they can't sell the system for much less than it's worth. I mean, all consoles are sold at a loss, you know, when they first come out. So what companies always hope for is that, you know, you burn money to make money. That's just how it goes. So if the NX is considerably more powerful than the PS4, because the PS4 is as strong as the generation as far, yes, that'll be good for the future, but for now, it'll mean that the console is just going to be more expensive. So when people go in the stores and they see a PS4 for, let's say, $300 and the NX for $400, obviously they're going to lean more towards the PS4 because that's $100 less. So then, can Nintendo make a system that's powerful enough to run games of today and games of tomorrow, but affordable enough that the average consumer wouldn't mind dropping those few extra dollars? Now, the big kicker here is Nintendo's amazing lineup of exclusives. Nobody can touch Nintendo's exclusives. Phil Spencer, leader of the Xbox team, even admitted himself that Nintendo has some of the best IPs. No, not some of the best. The best IPs in the market. That's just fact. That's like equivalent to Disney, equivalent to Warner Brothers. You know, they just own really huge names in the entertainment business. Same thing with Nintendo. nobody can touch their IPs, and that's why Nintendo has spent so much time in the console business over 30 years because of the likes of Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Pokemon, and so many others that they have. That just can't beat them. And then when they release new IPs like Splatoon, which has sold really well, it goes to show you that Nintendo is very well known for their game creation techniques, as I discussed in my last video. So definitely that will be the big kicker. That is what is going to, as always with any console, set the NX apart, is exclusive titles. So then, with the strength of Nintendo's exclusive titles, obviously it's going to sell. It's going to sell to Nintendo's core fan base, and of course it will hopefully have the attraction to those who don't particularly have a Nintendo, who don't have much of an interest in Nintendo consoles. Hopefully that'll pick their interest, and that's what Nintendo is trying to focus on with the NX. Now, I've already talked about before how weird Nintendo's situation is with third parties. They've spent basically since the N64 doing things against what third parties want. The N64 used cartridges, while all the other systems use CDs. The GameCube used mini discs, while all the other consoles used DVDs. Even though both the N64 and GameCube were powerful enough to run the games, they just couldn't literally fit on the storage mediums. You know, with Wii, DS, Wii U, and 3DS, Nintendo decided to take a different approach and just make their systems more on the affordable side, just to give as much people as possible a chance to go ahead and play. Now, the Wii U is a bit different, as well as the 3DS, is because Nintendo focused on affordability, but at the same time they tried different things. You know, they tried to get a little more weird. With the 3DS, of course, it was the 3D effect, and with the Wii U, of course, was the gamepad. And that is what ended up making those systems more expensive than they should have been. Nintendo even admitted this themselves. The reason why they hesitated with dropping their prices was because it really cost them a lot to make these systems. So, what people are hoping for with the NX is that they just ditch all of that, no gimmicks, but just make the console nice, traditional, and powerful. Okay, good. That's great. But the question is, how powerful do you make the system to where that the price isn't that far out? Because when people go in the store and they see the PS4, they see the NX, they're going to be in two different price ranges. So how do you convince them to go ahead and buy that system? Now, let's look at it from good scenario to bad scenario. The best scenario is that the NX is going to have a good amount of power, more so than what we already have, and at the same time its exclusives will help drive it so that it can sell very good, and that will give it a boost so that whenever the PS5 and the next Xbox come out, the NX will already have a good amount of units sold, and so it'll have a good head start. Developers would hopefully at that point be interested in developing for the system because they have a market and they have the power to work with. Now, the worst case scenario is that it will be as powerful as the PS4 and the Xbox One now. It can probably run the same games now. Developers won't hesitate too much to bring their games because the architecture is so close. But even though it could work out in the short term, by the time that the PS5 and the next Xbox come out, it could just end up in the exact same situation that the Wii U and the Wii were, as we've seen. With the Wii, you know, it was holding on to the 6th generation technology, and as a result, many games did not come to the Wii, despite the fact that it sold really well. It wasn't feasible. With Wii U, even though it is capable of running a lot of today's games, believe it or not, it is, if developers actually put the effort necessary, and that's just the thing. They don't want to. They think that the consumer base is just too small, and they think that it's just too much work. So, if that ends up happening with the NX, where even if it is possible to make the game, it's just probably not strong enough to where it'll end up holding everything back. They probably might not want to mess with it. So, that's the best case scenario and worst case scenario. So put it shortly, best case scenario, it's powerful enough to run games of today and tomorrow, and it has a good head start so that it can survive when the PS5 and the next Xbox come out. They probably won't clash too quickly, like as we saw with the Wii U, which got overtaken very quickly. Worst case scenario is that it can run the games of today, but by the time that the successors to the PS4 and the Xbox One come out, we're going to be in the exact same situation that we're in right now. Now, to bring this video home, to close it out, I just want to discuss one thing that can change all of what I just talked about. We've come down to a point where graphics are starting to mean a whole lot less. And that may be weird for me to say when so many gamers are so concerned about the resolution and the frame rate of a game, but really, look at the evolution of graphics from the beginning up until now. We've seen the jump from 8-bit to 16-bit, from 2D to full 3D, and then when we got into 3D, we got a massive upgrade when we moved from consoles like the N64 and PlayStation over to the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. You know, there was a big jump in visual fidelity. And then there was another big jump when we moved from standard definition 3D to high definition 3D games, which was, of course, the PS3 360. This generation, the jump from 7th to 8th generation, except for Nintendo, has been very small. Yes, the PS4 and the Xbox One are better systems. Yes, their games do look better, and when you have multi-generation games like, for instance, Grand Theft Auto 5, you can see that there's a pretty good difference. However, the difference is a whole lot smaller. It's much smaller. You've gone from HD to more HD, basically. And when we look at what could possibly be 9th generation games, it really makes you wonder how much better can it actually be? Because when you see games like you just mentioned, the current generation version of Grand Theft Auto 5, when you see games like that, as well as The Witcher 3, Drive Club, The Last Guardian, Horizon Zero Dawn, when you see games like that look that good, The Order 1886, yes, that's the game I was looking for, The Order 1886, we've basically at this point achieved what can be pretty much considered photorealism. So then, the next generation of consoles may not be all that more powerful than what we already have. The gap is going to be even smaller, alright? It's going to be even smaller. So then, hopefully, the one thing that can really change the situation and really hope and end up working out for Nintendo the best is that even if the PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox are more powerful than the NX, it wouldn't be to the point where developers would be unable to bring their game without having to, you know, basically kill themselves in terms of development time. It won't be that hard because the difference will be so small. That will change everything if that happens. So, here's hoping that it really is true that the gap has become very, very small. There's not much farther we can go with graphical fidelity, except for achieving 1080p at 60 frames on all games, and potentially somewhere in the future on consoles 4K, actual 4K resolution, which is still pretty long ways off in terms of making consoles affordable, but who knows, it could end up being that way one day. We'll see. Alright folks, that's going to bring an end to this video. Really hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you leave your thoughts down below because that's the point of these discussion videos. And of course, if you like what you saw here, give this video a thumbs up and check out the rest of my content. And also head on over to NintendoThusiast.com to read all my articles, as well as the rest of the content that's been produced by the rest of the team. Really good stuff. And of course, click that subscribe button. Until next time, hope you continue to have a great day, great night, great evening, whatever time of day it is. Have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.